Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly Purple Penny coin and banknote video. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. We've been doing these videos for something over 3 years, and the Purple Penny's been here for coming up to 3.5 years now. We're a small coin and banknote dealer in the northern suburbs of Adelaide, which is the capital of South Australia. We buy and sell coins, banknotes, and other collectibles that take our fancy. We're also distributors for the Royal Australian Mint, so we do sometimes get some new release products from the Royal Australian Mint. So we have these videos every week to try and, I guess, share the news about what's going on in the world of coin collecting, and to share a bit of our enthusiasm for what is a really interesting hobby, and hopefully tell you something new, make you interested in a different aspect of coin collecting, and perhaps to make you long-term coin collectors, which is, after all, what the goal of a coin shop is to create an unlimited supply of long-term coin collectors. Right, last week it was a bit wild and wet and windy here in Adelaide last week, and whenever there's bad weather, the number of people coming through the front door is always decreased. But despite that, it was still very busy, and Saturday, which seems to be our new busiest day, was extremely busy. Catherine and I, Catherine says she's been here for 4.5 years. No, Catherine hasn't gone home in 4.5 years. Whenever she tries to go home, I tape her up with packing tape and leave her on the ground, and then come in the morning and release her so that she can continue mailing things out. No particular items of interest last week that came in the door, nothing worth sharing, so I think we'll just jump into the news. So just a reminder, of course, that we are only about 7 weeks away from the Adelaide Coin and Banknote Expo at the Torrens Parade Grounds on October the 7th and 8th. Free admission, free parking. It's right in the middle of Adelaide. The Royal Australian Mint, at last notice, is attending. We don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping to get some information about that, and I'll share that with everyone once I know that. Best coin show in Australia. About 27 or 28 dealers, I believe, this year. More tables than last year, so well worth coming in for a visit. Let's just jump into the news here. Hang on, I'm just going to press the right button. So there is a RAM release coming up this Friday, the third in the Children's Book Week series. This one being Edward the Emu. We'll just pop up the details of that here. Now these are typically hard to get, all of these coins, because I think most of the coins go either directly via the Mint or via the people that they've licensed the product from. So we've got Edward the Emu this year. That's a coloured 20-cent coin, struck in copper nickel, and is available in a card for $15, and in what they're calling a special edition book for $50. And there is a gold plated coin in a what they're calling a deluxe book for $85. We only got a very small allocation of these. If you are interested in getting your hands on these, then I would suggest you start looking around now. We won't have enough to supply anyone to anyone that hasn't already expressed interest. They are being released this Friday, which is out of the normal cycle for mint releases, and if it's something that interests you, you should really get out there and put your feelers out and try and figure out where you're going to get your hands on these items. Next to the news is the Mint again. They won 2 awards this week, which got a good amount of coverage in the press. They won awards in the International Coin of the Year Awards, which is an award program that Krause Publications has been running since 1984. Krause Publications, you would know, are the publishers of the Krause World Coin books. If you ever come in here and you look down at our shelves behind the counter, you'll see some very thick books. They are the Krause World Coin books that we refer to many times. I was going to say that they're like telephone books, but telephone books are probably things that most people don't know these days. big thick books, very useful references, and created by Krause Publications. They run these awards, and there's 10 different categories in the awards. I believe that the members of an association vote on the finalists, and then there's 10 panellists who pick the winners in 10 different award categories. So the Royal Australian Mint, and well done to them, won the award for Best Circulating Coin Design, which was for the 2022 Honey Bee, which is the quite nice looking orange and yellow honey bee design, which almost appears three-dimensional, certainly my favourite $2 design. And they also won an award for the most artistic coin, which was the Great Barrier Reef coin, I believe the first one in the Beauty, Rich and Rare series. Interesting that they won that award just a few days after the last in that series was released, which was the 12 Apostles. So well done to the Mint there for winning that. As I said, it got a fair bit of press coverage, including radio interviews by the CEO of the Mint. Congratulations to all involved. I guess if you wanted to commemorate that, then maybe trying to get hold of one of those coins or a security bag or a roll and putting it aside with a note saying that it was an award-winning coin might be a nice thing to have in one's collection. So we'll just say a few hellos to people here before we move on to the next item in news. Hello Chris, Mike, Adam, Powell, Lynette. Do you know if there will be a coin released from the Mint in September? Can't say anything. Graham, hello, how are you? Hello Sandra, hello Rob, hello Carolyn. John, yeah, it would be good to see you here this Wednesday. If you are in Adelaide, we're going to be in Adelaide this weekend. The Numismatic Association of Australia has their biennial conference here in Adelaide. There's a small coin show on Friday afternoon, and then the conference with papers presented over the weekend. So, if you are interested in that sort of stuff and you've got some free time, there is a fee involved. Just contact me and I'll forward you on those details. Hello Gloria, hi Chris, hello Catherine, thank you for packaging up all the parcels today. Hello Angela and Peter, Alison, Charles, Gary, Ray, Richie, Peter, and everyone else who hasn't said hello, thank you for joining in today. So we'll just jump back to the news here. So if you watched these videos, you would have seen me talk about the Idmar gold coin that was illegally sold last year, and the people who sold that have been charged and arrested and all sorts of interesting things. But there is a genuine silver Idmar coin coming up for auction. Well, it is actually available for auction now. If you've got a few $100,000, you can go and place a bid right now if you wanted to at Stacks and Bowers, who are a well-known American auction house. So the Idmar coin is a couple of different coins that were struck about 2 years after the assassination of Julius Caesar. Now everyone knows who Julius Caesar is. He was the most famous emperor of Rome. He was assassinated in I think in the Senate or the Forum of Rome, and was stabbed in the back by several different people, including his very close friend M. Junius Brutus. And of course, if you know a little bit of Latin, you would know that there's two Latin sayings that come from the assassination of Julius Caesar. Cave Idus Martius, which is beware the Ides of March, which supposedly a soothsayer told Julius Caesar because he was murdered on the Ides of March, which is the 15th of March. And apparently his last words after he was stabbed, when he looked up and he saw his good friend Brutus wielding the bloody knife, was et tu Brute, which of course is and you Brutus, or something along those lines. So it's quite a famous piece of history from 44 BC for something that's over 2,000 years ago. And just to rub salt in the proverbial wounds, Brutus actually had a series of silver and gold coins minted about 2 years and 3 months after the assassination of Julius Caesar. They were struck in silver and gold. The silver one was a denarius, and on one side it had a portrait of Brutus himself, and on the other side it had 2 daggers, remembering the way in which Julius Caesar met his demise, and what's called a Phrygian cap. Phrygian caps were given to freed slaves So the Phrygian cap was a symbolism of the freedom of Rome from the dictatorship of Julius Caesar. Interestingly, this is one of the very few coins that is actually mentioned in contemporary Roman accounts. There are contemporary Roman historians who specifically mention this coin being minted and available. Now, this coin here is up for auction right now at Stack's Bowers. It's estimated at 150 to 300,000 US dollars. The current bidding this morning was $110,000. I put in a sneaky bid for $111,000. Don't anyone tell Catherine. So if you do have deep pockets, it might be a pretty impressive part of your collection, the Idmar Denarius. Now the next item in the news, more ancient coin news here, is 12 Iron Age gold coins that were dug up in Wales on the Isle of Anglesey. These are the first Iron Age gold coins that have ever been dug up in Wales. And of course metal detecting has been going on a long time in the UK, so quite remarkable that this is the first Iron Age gold coins dug up. They were found over 9 months in the same field on the Isle of Anglesey in 2021 and 22, and they are attributed to the Corioltavi tribe, which is a Celtic tribe that is in eastern England around Lincolnshire. Interestingly, Lincolnshire is about 250 miles on the away from where these were found. Lincolnshire being on the east coast of England and the Isle of Anglesey being on the west coast of England. So it just shows you how far coins moved back then. These coins are gold. They weigh somewhere between 4.5 and 6.5 grams, and on one side they show the head of Apollo, and on the reverse a chariot and charioteer. So very interesting finds. Of course, they were declared as treasure to the United Kingdom government, and they were acquired by the Museum of Wales and are on exhibit. So if you're ever in Wales, go in and see if you can have a look at those. So the UK has also issued another new 50p for King Charles III. This one to commemorate his coronation. This is the second Charles III 50p which has entered circulation. Interestingly, it has the bareheaded portrait of Charles III, and you can buy the same coin in silver and gold from the Royal Mint's website, but the NCLT versions have the crowned portrait of King Charles III, and on the Royal Mint's website it says that they will only be using the bareheaded portrait for circulation coins. There's going to be 5 million of these distributed via UK post offices and banks, so if you are interested in that, then perhaps jump onto eBay and see if you can get some out of the UK into Australia, because we had some here in the shop and they did sell very well. They're very interesting coins. Next item and last item is interesting bit of art that has come out of New South Wales, an artist called Luke Cornish. What he's done is worked with a paper manufacturer in Melbourne and created some paper from the pulp from banknotes from 195 195 countries. So he's obtained banknotes from apparently all existing 195 countries and pulped those and made paper out of them. And then on 155 sheets of paper he's drawn 155 birds, and each of those birds is the national bird of one of those 195 countries. Why is there only 155 birds for 195 countries? Because some of them use the same bird. So he's actually applied the picture of the bird to the paper using stencils, up to 10 stencils and 30 colours per image. So quite remarkable things. Clearly a talented man. Now he's saying that these are a statement on the worthlessness of what he calls fiat currency being currency that has no intrinsic worth, such as paper money and base metal coins. And as part of that, when you buy one of these pieces of artwork, not only do you get the artwork itself, which is created from paper money, as a certificate of authenticity, it actually comes with a NFT token to prove its authenticity. NFT being non-fungible token, I think it stands for. It's a crypto token that is associated with a particular piece of artwork. I had a look at the prices of these things. They range in price between $2,500 and $5,000 for the original piece of artwork, and they are on display in a gallery in Victoria from the middle of October, which is actually only 4 days away. So interesting money-related art there. Right, let's jump into the topic of the week. So, topic of the week is a bit of an alternative collecting theme, because not all coins need to be valuable, not all coins need to go up in value. It's I know everyone chases investments and things like that, but sometimes it's worth collecting coins for the history that they represent, because as I've said on this channel many times before, coins themselves are essentially mundane items, and they last a lot longer than you and I will. And when you hold one in your hand, it's always interesting to think about the people that held that coin, what it could buy when it was first released, the motivations behind its creation, and those sorts of things. And one interesting area of collecting is coins that are created specifically during wartime, because during wartime governments have different motivations, and has led to some interesting coinage being created in the 20th century during World War I and World War II. And these particular collecting themes are very affordable. Many of the coins that I'm about to talk about we just sell in here by the kilo. If you were to buy a kilo of coins off of us, you could possibly find some of these coins in there. And certainly Jared is interested in them, and he's making a little collection of World War II coins from Europe, none of which have any particular value. So let's just jump into some of these. So the first one here has an Australian basis. It's during World War II, Australia really did shift into a full wartime economy. A huge amount of our workforce was diverted to supporting the war effort, and a huge portion of the adult population was either enlisted in the army or enlisted in civilian enterprises to support the war effort, and that included the Royal Mint branches. The Royal Mint branches were involved in things other than creating coins. Now, because of the lack of industrial capacity for non-wartime purposes and the increase in economic turnover in the country was full of US servicemen. When there are more people in the country that are spending more money, you need more coins. As a result of that, the Royal Mint actually contracted the branch mints in the USA to mint Australian coins for them. So the San Francisco and Denver mints in the USA made Australian threepences, sixpences, shillings and florins, with the threepences and sixpences struck at both San Francisco and Denver, and the shillings and florins just struck at San Francisco. And Australia incurred a large debt to the US government for the manufacture of those coins, not only in the silver that was supplied, but also all the effort that was put into making them, the on costs as well. Now, because of that, it's theorised that part of the reason why Australia went from 92.5% silver to 50% silver in 1946 was to actually help pay off those debts that they had incurred to the USA, not only in coin manufacture but also war material manufacture, because of course Australia was supplied with a lot of war equipment and vehicles and planes and things like that from the USA. And the opportunity of the Australian government to pull in a 92.5% florin, and create a 50% florin from that, and thus the amount of coins in circulation is the same, but they have that little bit of extra silver that they realise and can use that to pay off war debts. So many of these US minted silver coins can be had for basically scrap price. None of them are hard to find. They can be hard to find in better grades, but if you're just after a circulating example, they are not very expensive at all, and an interesting artefact of the situation in Australia during World War II. And I should just say that the US mints made coins for lots of countries during World War II, and there is an interesting article on the US Mint website explaining all the coins that they have minted during World War II for other countries. Interesting theme for collecting. Another probably more expensive area of collecting here in Australia is collecting the tokens that were created at the various prisoner of war and internment camps here in Australia during World War One and World War Two. It probably comes as a surprise to a lot of people that there were internment and prisoner of war camps here in Australia during World War One and World War Two, but there were. And the reason why I say prisoner of war and internment is that we created camps for people of German origin, Japanese origin, Italian origin during World War One and World War Two, and we had a large number of Italian prisoners of war sent over from the battlefields of Africa to Australia, and similarly we had Japanese prisoners of war in camps here in Australia during World War Two as well. So what do you do to run an economy inside an internment camp or a prisoner of war camp? Well, you create your own currency for the camp. That means that you can control the number of coins on issue, you can control who has them, and of course if we were to use local currency, then that would result in smuggling and things like that, trying to get local currency into the camp, perhaps bribery of the guards and things like that. So collecting internment camp and prisoner of war camp tokens in Australia can be expensive. Some of the tokens are worth thousands of dollars. So that one there is an aluminium Liverpool internment camp token from World War One. The 2 shilling tokens and 5 shilling tokens from the internment camps during World War Two are very expensive. Interestingly, there are banknotes that were also created for the internment camps during World War Two, which are even more expensive. But they are a very small series. You're only talking probably only 10 different items that are collectible. And I guess if you've got enough budget, they are an achievable collection to look for. So this is a coin that we see quite often here in the shop, and one that always generates interest here in Australia is the 1943 steel cent that came out of America during World War II. Prior to 1943 and after 1943 till 1981, US cents were made from copper. But of course, during World War II, America was, of course, completely converted to a wartime economy, and they needed all the copper to go into armaments. So as a consequence, rather than making the cents from copper in 1943, they decided to make them out of steel. And I mean steel, these things can go rusty. And they minted about 1.1 billion of them for 1943. They were minted at the branch mints in Philadelphia, Denver and San Francisco, and they are again an interesting artifact of what was going on in the USA during World War II. Interesting that it is more affordable to strike a coin out of steel than it is out of copper. And if you're wondering how much it cost, there was only about 1/100 of a cent worth of steel in each one of these cents in World War II prices, so they're actually very affordable to make. And if you're after a brilliant uncirculated one of these, they are only worth about $5 or $10. There aren't many dealers here in Australia that have them, so you might have to jump onto eBay in the USA to get them, but none of them are rare, and if you're after an interesting collectible, this is a good one to look out for. The last item of the day is looking at a coin that an occupation government has created. Prior to World War II, the Belgian government created coins in copper, nickel, bronze and silver, but of course they were overrun by the Germans early in World War II, and the Germans were always experiencing resource shortages, so they didn't have the copper or the silver or the copper nickel to be able to create Belgian coins of the same composition, so the German occupation government created a whole range of coins in zinc, and at the same time they were creating a lot of their own German coins in zinc. The coins themselves were not well accepted by Belgians, as you'd imagine, and I did read some newspaper articles suggesting that the German occupation forces had to take some rather drastic actions to ensure that they were accepted by Belgians. I don't really like to think what they might be. And Interestingly, after World War II, the Belgian government did continue making some coins in zinc while resources were still short. Another interesting fact to add to this is that the Allied governments actually created 2 million Belgian 2 franc coins in anticipation of the recapture of the country in 1944 and 1945, and those 2 million 2 franc coins were minted on planchets intended for steel wartime cents. So an interesting tie in there to the coin that we did talk about earlier. So this is part of coin collecting that I love, looking at the historical reasons behind why coins were created. And times of war are chaotic and tumultuous, and sometimes there are some really strange things created during wartime, especially with coins and banknotes. Well worth investigating if that sort of thing interests you. And hopefully I've made someone interested in some of the things that I've shown today. Right, let's have a look at some of the comments here. Thank you. Catherine says it's not a coin show at the NAA conference, it's a bourse. Of course it's a bourse. A bourse is just an old word for a coin show. So if you're old, then it's a bourse. If you're not, it's a coin show. Hello Kay, hello Sean, thanks Patrick for your kind words there. Hello Cam, hello other Cam. Peter says, is that the same reverse design as a Charles 50p last year? Yeah, so it's the same reverse design going into circulation that was available as a piece of NCLT from the Royal Mint on their website. Mike says he's got some Crown Silver Britannias coming, 3 effigies on the Britannia this year. Mike, I'd love it if you shared a picture of those with us. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll share that on the video here. Hello Joseph, hello Shane. Hi Mark, you can get 1 ounce English Silver Britannia coin same year 2023 with different heads. Nice pair. Thanks Shane for sharing that. That's what Mike has just said above there. Hello Mark, hello Aaron. Mike says, would steel be harder to mint? Yes, certainly I would imagine it requires higher striking pressures. David Trotter says, there's around 100 1-cent coins incorrectly struck on steel planchets dated 1944 from the USA. Yes, that's right, David. And of course, there's a handful of 1943 cents struck in copper. Probably coins that were jammed in machines, jammed in presses, jammed in coin feeds, swept up and put into buckets and things like that. They are very collectible in the USA, those things, and hugely faked. Hugely faked. Over there in one of the coin boxes behind that screen is an off-center 1943 cent, which is such an obvious fake. It's hilarious. We'll take a picture of it one day and share it with you. Mark says it's a 1943 1 cent that is worth dollars. Very low mintage. So Mark, that is the one that is struck in copper only. And there are, for every real one, there's probably 1 million fakes. There are, I believe, less than 20 have been found, and they usually sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so if you find a 1943 struck in copper, a US cent, it's going to be a fake. It's going to be a fake. The chances of you finding one here in Australia are effectively zero. Hello Ronalyn, hello Wendy, and hello Daz. Right, that's it for today. Thank you for everyone for taking part. It's always a pleasure to have everyone watching. Good luck with the release on Friday, and stay safe, stay happy, happy collecting. Bye for now, and we'll be back next week.